What's up, Giga Gamers? We got game 3. We're looking at G2 Esports versus XL. Two teams that are in playoff position, looking to get into that upper echelon, trying to maybe eke out a bye, but definitely want to get preferential seeds. We'll see what they bust out. All right, so we're catching this one at B3 in the draft. Just in time, we see all three of the marquee marksmen are out. Caitlyn, I think, just is off of that level. I don't think that she belongs in the same position, but she is still nerfed, or she is still banned in this position. So we've got Caitlyn, Aphelios, Zeri, and Jinx all gone. Not to mention Xin Zhao, and we did confirm that they are on 12-4, so this is pre-nerf Xin Zhao. Still not the strongest, but is acceptable. I would say after this weekend and in your live games, just drop him off the table. He's way too understated. Azir being brought in to counter Ryze. We still haven't seen Cass. Cassiopeia was one of those answers that maybe they just don't think that the items are right for her. She used to be able to get that Leandri's rush back in the day when it used to be rock, paper, scissors, Orianna, Cassiopeia, and Ryze. But they are using Ryze. They are using Azir, I should say. Similar type of kit as far as harass and amount of damage you can put out from that like battle mage position. Cass and Azir are the champions that can out damage Ryze and out range. So they have a little bit more utility in those positions. Doesn't have the same playmaking potential that the Ryze ult has. Again, these pros have a lot of different angles that they know to use the, what is it called, Realm Warp, to jump around team fights. I do like the draft so far from XL, where you've got an AD jungler with an early AD boost with two ability power solo laners. This obviously unlocks a position where it's much harder to itemize against them. The thing that I don't like is that Jarvan innately synergizes with AD champions. You actually want AD the same way that Amumu can play with AP champions. Jarvan has armor shred and he has an attack speed buff. So you actually generally want to synergize him more with mixed combat stats. You don't need to do this sort of play. Varus is the type of champion that is specifically perfect for Jarvan. Jarvan isolates the target. They can no longer dodge. Varus gets the ultimate on him, locks him down. You've got the sustained damage source. On top of that, he's a marksman benefiting from the attack speed. On top of that, you've got the armor shred from the Q from Jarvan. As long as he's not just using it as a gap closer, you will get that armor shred anytime you're getting that knock-up. And we see Akshan. All right, we've got in the top lane what is thought to be a Gwen counter can outrange her. The Q can pass through minions despite Gwen dodging it. It'll still pass through the minions and come back. Normally, in your solo Q games, the E level up is statistically better. It just has more numbers for it for the amount of fighting that's going to happen. But in these pro games, I do expect a Q max so that you get the maximum amount of wave clear. And you're looking for the Akshan, Broken Blades Akshan, to just push this wave in. He is going to rush Hullbreaker. This is prior to the nerfs to the ranged champions. Again, we do think that the nerf was perfect. It was ideally fit. Ranged champions shouldn't have gotten the same benefit that melee champions got as far as buffing up the cannon the way that they do. So that got nerfed by 50%. That said, we do still think Akshan is in an exceptionally powerful place. And our favorite pairing with him, Tahm Kench. Right, so you get that all-in play. You can save people. You can turn fights. Tahm Kench can turn a fight. Akshan can turn a fight. Because if you ever get that team fight where it starts off 2-2 and then Akshan gets a kill, shuts down the scoundrel, and you get a champion back, suddenly all the benefits that you normally get from kills as far as objective control get turned around. So anytime you have an even fight, if Akshan gets a kill, it's not really even. I am surprised that they weren't able to get the players back in person again. They do have, fluctuating policies, it seems like. They did have the coach of SK in for an interview. I am surprised. It might be an option where any team can opt to not come in. I don't know. Not coming in means you're playing on latency, so you just throw it's another curveball. I don't think that they've isolated to get zero ping servers out. All right, so this game is largely going to break down to Broken Blade on Akshan with the Hullbreaker, right? You've got Azir with phenomenal single lane control. Jhin with the same thing. You can control space at range. They're looking to keep the enemy team at bay. Diana not really serving that same purpose. You do have the idea of a AD top laner with an AP jungler, but Diana Azir in the mid lane, it's going to be very hard to make something happen with just as simple as a Merc Treads from the Nuke Duck on Rise, which you can almost guarantee that he's going to go into the tank build Merc Treads with Everfrost, the Fimbulwinter, and Frozen Heart combination that just gives Rise this ball of stats. And honestly, the Fimbulwinter change on Rise might be the difference why we don't see Cassiopeia anymore, although we expect her to be good with it. She also casts the most spells and has a mana refund, so the Archangel Staff is presumably better on her than it is on anybody else. Not to mention getting your ability haste to that certain threshold where you can just spam the E's. Patrick with Mickey. XL trying to take Mickey X against his old team. See if he can put it together. G2 with that new look. Jarvan putting the flag into the pit to see whether or not they warded or fake warded, right? You get that information. You know exactly when Diana's trinket is going to respawn. All of these are on the same timer at the beginning of the game unless they're running Cosmic Insight. So you will know at what point those wards are going to come back up. You also know when it's going to drop. So keep those timers up. Learn those timers. Try to get exact information about when do they know. In this case, Jarvan's going to go for a 3-camp clear. Presumably, we'll say. Presumably into a 3-camp clear. And then his options are nebulous. He could go to red buff and be not spotted. Or he could go gank, right? The enemy team might have the information to read, hey, he's not at red. He's probably going red. Well, that might be a good time to throw in a curveball. Diana correctly starting on Wolves. Use the AoE damage from the auto attack. We'll see if she actually started W or Q. Oh, early flash. A little bit of matchup knowledge there. You might be playing Akshan, and he is a good laner, but level 1 is not his strongest point. And Gwen just has basically the most impressive level 1 in the entire game up in the top lane. They finally nerfed it. I think she's going to be gutted. That was her strength, the entirety of her strength was the fact that she could bully these matchups with a 100 range bonus. Now she's no better than an Aurelia as far as attack range is concerned. Azir should be able to get a massive poke lead on a Rise here. Massive range advantage. This was something that was true in Worlds meta. What was it, 3 years ago? Was it the Rookie, the Shy meta, where they were flexing Rise and Vlad around to dodge Azir? Markoon, with the knowledge that he is not seen on this position, was able to get around the ward on Raptors and then repositioning himself for a gank mid. Almost zero chance the enemy team knows that you're here, but we do see Caps playing to bot side. This was, Nuke Duck with the flash W instead of the EW. He's not able to get the root out. So major win for G2. You've got two champions spending a lot of resources. Jarvan especially changing his path around. Diana in the meantime got a full clear and scuttle. So she's going to be on 7 camps by the time Jarvan's finishing his 5th. We'll see if she opts into an invade on Gromp now too. Gromp's going to come up in 20 seconds. So is she willing to go up here and kind of hold this position? If you do get the information that Jarvan's on your top side, then you can just hold this position. It looks like she's impatient. She's going to stick around for it. They know the timing on Jarvan. They know his camp totals. Now what she's doing, she's pressing recall, but she's not actually waiting. She's not actually going to take it. I think she might do. Oh, she did it. Major. All right. Missed opportunity there. Maybe she's afraid that Jarvan's taking her wolf camp. That wouldn't seem right. Taking second Gromp is a big prize. That is a spike in golden experience that I'm surprised that Jankos is not willing to take here, especially with a negative wave in the bot side. Maybe he's saying that because Tom Kench is leaving and I'm here alone, I might get spotted out. But overall, I think the gains, the potential gains, certainly much higher for staying and taking that Gromp. We'll see what ends up coming of it. Jin getting a full reset. Ooh, a little impatient on the last hit. I think you may have missed that cannon. They do get information on Jarvan here. Jarvan's biggest spikes, right? Level 2. And right when he hits 6, depending on whether or not he goes the Gore Drinker build or a lethality type build early, will depend on whether or not he scales a little bit more into the mid game. Gore Drinker makes you just be able to jump into those fights, walk around, take any R, and then EQ into the middle of their team to get the full value of the Gore Drinker passive off and active. Now we have a battle. Nuke Ducks got the tier, but nothing else. So still some mitigated pushing power. Azir should be able to push through this. You see the blasting wand early instead of double amp tome. So Azir either had exactly 850 and didn't want to wait for 870. That's probably the most likely scenario. But also got boots. All right, so I mean that's kind of bizarre. Blasting wand and boots. If you had exactly 1150, you just want the maximum damage. Willing to spend your mana to harass Rise's health bar and then go take another back later for your mana items. That's fine. I don't think we'll see something crazy like a rocket belt, although it is in the realm of possibility to reposition yourself. Now, one thing that I find to be an imprecision from pro play. So the Jarvan W has been nerfed, right? But in these pro games, a lot of teams use the EQ just as a repositioning tool. You EQ just to get your R off. Now, if that's the case, you should not be putting any points into your Q. Putting points in your E is still valuable because of the attack speed boost, but putting points in your Q actually does nothing for you because you're just using it for gap close. However, the lance is actually your biggest source of damage and armor shred. So there's this weird juxtaposition. Do you max E? Do you max Q for the biggest damage spike? Do you max W to just be tankier and have a bigger slow going into the middle of their team? In these pro games, I tend to swing towards the W. We did see, who was it? Suning that was able to take that to maximum effect. They just played tank Jarvan, just walked all over the place. Couldn't ever hit him. Same thing with tank Lee Sin. Nice job, Broken Blade, juggling the turret aggro. Knows that he's super safe because of the rope swing. Any sign of Jarvan showing up and he's out of there. Let's see if Finn's using the slow to try to keep them in range. Broken Blade going maximum distance away. I do not like this. It's very greedy going for that ward. That ward can get you killed. You might be thinking that you're strong because of the Diana. But if enemy team is repositioned immediately, you could be in trouble there. Now, laning advantage should go heavily to Varus in most situations. Jhin is just using this ultimate to clear the wave. Sometimes, again, just like Jinx, most marksman ultimates, first use is just not very good. Just get it for value wherever you can. In this case, Jhin is using it for a fast reset. But Varus and Yuumi jumping all over the opportunity to get off the fast push and response. Now, interestingly, G2 especially used to be a team that would fight for the Herald and get the backs early. They end up getting it anyways just because of the play, the advantage that they have in top lane with Akshan with the fast push. But Diana was able to solo it with no other help from the support. Yuumi, not exactly the best roaming champion. Slow? I know there was some discussion on I believe it was the Meteos desk, that why don't Yuumis buy boots? And there's an obvious reason why they wouldn't, right? But boots do have combat stats on them, and they allow you to ward more safely, and they allow you to roam. And you can't do any of those things if you don't have boots. Yes, you can get another Bandleglass mirror sooner, right? And that's essentially the trade-off. You're getting Bandleglass mirror, some AP, some resistances. But what else are you going to do? Now you are forfeit your movement to your team's ability to get around. Now with someone like Rise, that might be okay. Following a Jarvan around, giving him some extra AD for those massive ratios. Nuke Duck, feeling strong here against the Azir. This certainly favors him in slow range. He's got the juke off. Used the summoner spell heal. Has to use everything else. Cap's going to go in, ulting out. Oh, he's trapped. That's it. Nuke Duck seems loose at best. That may have just been a zero opportunity win. Let's see what they do. Mid laner is dead, and you've got Herald here. Step back, Targamas. Step back. Do not get in range. Get this turret. Hit the first plates. You've got the Tahm Kench ready. If they engage on you, then you're stronger. You're 3v2 here. Even without the Azir ult. Instead, they're just going to go and try to give maximum value. Tahm Kench staying outside of turret plate range, but inside gobble range to be able to disengage the Azir, and he does it perfectly. Look at that stout shield. Caps is just fine. 3 points in Q on Tahm Kench. Huge combat threat in the bot wave, in the bot lanes. I want to see what Jarvan does. Can they hover Jarvan for us? This just seems loose. At best, you know you're in a 1v2 that you need to get out of quickly. Then he starts juking early instead of just running straight line towards Gwen. The Gwen's probably calling that Akshan's nearby. Oh, LEC coming through with the production. Zombie Rise going back to the grave. Oh, and he went Graveborn Azir. See, he countered. Well, is this the counter? I guess we can have a discussion. Is this the counter? Taking Graveborn Azir as an answer. It's tough to say. Like, is he an Undertaker? All right, we have the Hullbreaker from Akshan. Finn deciding with plated steel caps. So this is Broken Blade's lane to break. He has broken the blade in favor of the hammer, and he's just going to hammer down the turret in top lane. Let's see how dominant this is indeed. Caps with ultimate again, looking to reposition, does not hit the Jarvan. Has to step back out, but they've got the numbers with Tahm Kench here. They're feeling exceptionally strong. Yanko's flipping back out, isolating the fight. Marcoon doing a good job isolating, but then moving away from his team. He's not able to get the support damage from the Rise. Now Rise overcommitting. This is really good for G2. Take this fight. Finish this off. Get the Finn. A little bit too safe from Tahm Kench, I would suppose, but they are still strong here. Let's see if they continue it. Tahm Kench is just so strong in these situations. Caps is kiting Mickey. He's afraid of the big bad cat. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Azir with the cap close. Playing a little bit too cautiously. This game is massively in G2's favor. Again, we're going to come down to one of these differences where you are going to have Hullbreaker, but when you take Hullbreaker, you are giving up some of the late game side lane potential. Yes, your champion gets a lot of stats, but a champion like Gwen is still going to be exceptional against you. The good news with Akshan is that he can be anywhere, right? He can press that W, go into fog, and then choose whether or not to come back or to find a gank into a lane. Can still be very powerful at taking turrets. But if we do get into this 1-3-1, Gwen and Rise in the side lanes, Jarvan, Yuumi, almost unkillable in mid-wave with Varus with the long range. This is a very classic Rise Gwen composition where you've got Varus, you've got long range wave clear from the marksman, you've got a jungler with mobility and a support with survivability. Ultimately, late game scaling, like this is a type of comp that can do very, very well, right? And you can insert You can insert any number of marksmen into this Varus role. It could just be the classic hyperscalers, or you could get Ezreal, also scaling, but Aphelios, Jinx, Zeri, all fantastic in this role. Very classic composition. So, can the playmaking of Caps and Jankos put something together that can beat them? The Akshan Hullbreaker is fairly new to the scene. We are not positive about the scaling on this champion in the side wave. It should be strong. In theory, it's strong. The move speed and the shield should mean that it's always able to at least, or never go worse than even, with the Gwen in a trade. Will that stick up through the course of the whole game? Gwen is one of those champions, very forgiving. You can, and unforgiving to play against. You make one mistake against a Gwen, you dash in the wrong direction, and she will chase you down and take you for all you've got. I like this. Yuumi on the jungler, right? Jungler giving resources. Jarvan is one of my favorite picks because of all the supportive tools. You've got engage, disengage, shield, slow, attack speed buff, armor shred, all on one champion. All right, so here we see that window, and again, he just procs the passive, moves back out, unafraid. Gwen will have a tough time with the cannons. We've discussed the possibility of bringing Dematerializer as a counter. Meta hasn't gotten to that point. I think they're fine playing these 1-3-1 compositions without scaling laners into the Hullbreakers, saying, all right, that's fine, you can 4-1. Caps using almost everything at his disposal, but the Yuumi does get the root in play. If he burns that flash earlier, flashes and then ultis, then you're able to get out of that scot clean. He tried to get out with just his ultimate that pays for it with his life. Now they may be saying, Jarvan, no ultimate. Yuumi, no ultimate. Ryze, no flash. They may be willing to take this fight, and indeed they are. They rotate over the Akshan, nag the dragon, and they get the kill. It is not the scoundrel to respawn Azir, unfortunately. But this is going to result in full turret bottom, presumably entire full second turret as well. So this is going to be a 500 gold Rift Herald. They are giving up a turret up in the top lane in exchange, but if they can get the tier 2 down here, then that is going to open the door to potentially getting that bot lane nexus exposed, the inhibitor exposed. And if you do, in a composition like this, you can actually pull apart a team, being able to say, hey, we can get so far into your base that we can get behind your 3-stack, and if you ever get behind the 3-stack, then you have opportunities to win from there. Akshan, of course, being even better than most at sneaking behind them. Now, as long as the super minions aren't spawning, as long as the inhibitors are up, the 1-3-1 team is going to feel very comfortable in these situations, right? You've got Ignite on Ryze, which is suboptimal, because you can't always get rid of the Ignite. You'd like to have Cleanse and Heal. At times, you even just take Clarity just to spawn through it, just to take that extra rune and just pop through it immediately to get the cooldowns. But you want to be able to get rid of your summoner spell to unlock teleport. Right now, this situation with Ryze top, sure, there's nothing to fight for, except they're going to go for this tier 2. With Ryze showing top, you're going to see G2 flex their power, move it into the bot lane. They're going to take this T2 because Ryze does not have access to his teleport. His Realm Warp will not go far enough. They're just going to bring this wave up and together crash it in. We'll see if they do it well. They brought it in a little bit too quickly. It's not under turret, so they'll be okay. Azir, Paragon in these situations. Wow, they're just taking the full-on engage. Even without Ryze, they say we've spotted Jhin in the mid wave. What is going on? That's a misread. What happened, Flakked? Gwen Yuumi, one of the terrors in the lane of the game. Now Gwen is going hunting. No, not opting for it. Full health, though. What happened, G2? How did you end up getting split apart like that? That's supposed to be a situation where Jin is healthily far behind everyone else. Can't impact a Gwen because of the W shield. That she'll just skip all that damage. In essence, also protecting Yumi. Yeah, Jin just shows on the mid wave. That's it. Jin's showing mid. Let's go. Jarvan with full everything gets the EQ knockup and also the ultimate. Misread. Jin, you can't do that. Inted your whole team away. Good job on Yumi pressing the go button. And suddenly XL is back in the game. That should have been a stamped and delivered win for G2. Instead, Flacked ints his entire squad right there. All right, so coming back in, the 1-3-1 team. Again, happy to make this game go longer, split into the sides. The longer the game goes, the worse the hull breaker is. That's the important thing to know. Right? Base stats, you get mitigating and decreasing returns on the stats from armor, from the health. Other teams' damage is going to scale harder and faster in the late game. And plus, when champions have enough damage, they don't care about the extra resistances on the cannon. They can still rip right through it. Right when you buy it is your biggest spike. So Akshan, every moment that this game continues, right, and presumably he's going to go on hit, he's going to go Kraken Slayer, maybe even Blade of the Rune King, maybe Ginsu's Rage Blade if he goes full on hit. But the longer this game goes, the moments in between the 4-item Akshan, where he finally gets enough synergy in his items, versus the detriment of the Hullbreaker stats, that window's going to favor XL. Not to mention that if they ever team fight, you just have a stat bucket of items. It doesn't really do anything. Kraken Slayer is done teleporting in. They're going to push mid, and then by getting mid priority, you're going to threaten both objectives at once. You see XL has to back away. They're positioning for Dragon because Finn is already on it. Rise collecting it is perfect because he's got the Realm Warp to get there. You notice Jankos trying to get himself into position. They're going for the burst play. Rise a little bit late on the call. Can they isolate people? Ooh. Marcoon unable to block the WE path from Azir. They're going to get the turn. This is it. Overstepped. Nuke Duck was not in position. The Realm Warp went behind them. The rest of the team went in front of them. They were able to isolate. Tom Kench with flash W for the engage to follow. They make sure to wrap up Nuke Duck nice and quick. Another time where it felt like Nuke Duck on Rise was suboptimally positioned. It was perfect to put yourself in mid lane collecting those minion waves, knowing that you could Realm Warp into the fight. But he went into a solo flanking position while his team's approaching from in front. If he had Realm Warped in right as Marcoon found the engage, then they may have been able to find something, isolate the team. Pinch, as Azir's flying outside the back of the pit, you can pinch the rest of the team that's isolated in front of the pit. Missed opportunity. Tom Kench ends up paying for the Baron, but that's okay. They're feeling exceptionally strong. Now, Akshan is not answerable in the side lanes. Azir, the ranged threat of Jin Azir, very hard to get on. You do have long range engage from Jarvan and from Rise. Even Varus and Yumi have ways to complement this, so they are fine to send their 4 into the 3. They're feeling strong in those positions. Gwen is always going to go and try to match either the Akshan or the Azir, whoever's pushing sideways. Gwen still feels strong, but the 4 stack is feeling very good into 3. If G2's not careful with Broken Blade not having teleport, and the fact that Azir arriving is somewhat conditional as far as what he can do, they might find an attack window. Jin, Diana, Tom Kench have to play far enough back to never give this window. They're not doing it. They give the window. Jankos moved too far up. Let's see if Tom Kench can come gobble him. Yep, he did it. The Rocket Belt into the Devour. Jarvan traps them all in there, but Akshan rips into them across the whole team, full damage out. They isolate the Jarvan. XL unable to fully consolidate the pressure that they had on that fight. Tom Kench just showing how good he is with that extra shield. Diana keeping herself alive just long enough with Zhonya's to get into the belly of the demon to turn that, and this is going to be all she wrote. They're going to get this, break this inhibitor, reposition. They've got Diana pushing in the bot wave. Dragon's coming up in 2 minutes. They're going to take everything in the eastern quadrant. They expect them to leave wards here as well, and to push out in the bot wave with their solo split. All right, they are actually not sending Akshan away. Akshan, despite having teleport up in about 30 seconds, a little bit less, is not going into the top wave. They're allowing that to solo push out. That will rebound eventually. That wave is not going to be big enough to create a full push of turret breaker. They're looking for the flank engage. Azir gets the turret down. This is a bad situation. XL, I applaud you for assuming that maybe Akshan went by himself and that the team would not be ready. I like that you pulled the trigger here. This was probably your best chance of winning. It just did not go well. But props on making the play, trying to say, hey, they might split up. We might be able to find them before they organize, using Realm Warp to put everyone together. They did not get Yuumi ulting. Probably wants to start ulting before the Realm Warp even resolves, just so that you don't even need to press that button when you're in there. Nuke Duck with the Zhonya's to dodge the bullet, getting Patrick eviscerated behind him. Oh, G2 styling to finish. So G2, good performance. Really Azir showing the team fight strength that he has into and outranging and a rise. Nuke Duck felt lost in this game. You need to be able to make consolidated plays with good shot calls. Know what the plan is before you do it, and that way you can exact your toll on enemy mistakes. We saw Jankos dive in. Had to have exactly Zhonya's plus Tom Kench Devour to get out. But still, like, you give those windows. G2 infamously always kind of opens that door. Caps especially opens that door, and sometimes teams are willing to pounce through. If Nuke Duck felt a little bit more comfortable on Rise, or if the team felt more comfortable with Rise on the roster, you might have seen a different result in this game. So some things to work on for both teams. It's going to be exciting to see how the playoff positioning runs out. Let me know who you think is going to have the inside position, the pole position for first place. It seems like it's Rogue, but the top all lost today. So apart from this game, the first time that the favorite won the game, we'll see them all next week. We'll see not next week. We'll see the rest of the matches over the weekend. What comes next? I'll catch you guys soon. Peace.